welcome to day number 2 of our online race industry week. And we're really excited about having you guys join us. So Chris and Carter, hopefully you guys have had a really great Thanksgiving and you're ready to go back to work.
Well, those vacations are never long enough.
Yeah, it turns out that way. What about you, Carter?
Yeah, no, we're we had a great holiday up here. With everything just kind of being what it is right now. It was just feel satisfying to be around some people you love and have a little bit of time together. So we had a great time up here. It's starting to get a little bit cold up here, especially compared to what you're probably used to down there. So we're starting to settle into the holidays and trying to make it as normal as possible.
So guys, let's go ahead and kind of dive off into what we're going to be kind of focusing in on. Intercomp, longtime company, with one of the best wireless and, scales and chassis setup type equipments out there today that so many people use, not only amateur racers, but professionals. And so what do you got going on right now, Chris, that, our listeners and everybody would like to know about? We got like 176 folks right now, seeing what's going on. So as a crew chief and a guy that just loves, gadgets and information, take it away.
Well, the one of the new things that we have going on for this year is our wireless load stick. You guys can see it there. So it's really the first that we know of in the industry, and it just makes the whole load stick using it makes it a lot easier. So racers are less concerned about breaking cables and things like that, and it just makes it easier to be able to concentrate on trying to get the right measurements.
So what you tell me, you have 4 of those that will read back to your box. Is that what we're saying right now? It's kind of like a remote.
Correct. Yeah.
Goes back to your brain.
A couple different sets. We have single load sticks, like you see in a lot of the companies that have developed this technology. That's what they have out there. We also do sell our load sticks in a 2-piece set and then a 4-piece set as well. So it just allows you to get a little bit more adjustability on all 4 corners of the car, and gets you a little closer to get a better idea of where those forces are when your car is under load in the middle of the corner.
So Carter, what have you got going on with your elite shock program? What's new for 2021?
Well, definitely for 2021, we've been working really hard on our shock dyno program. We've been around. We've been in the shock dyno market with Intercomp as a company for close to 20 years, actually. And so we're just constantly trying to work and develop and improve our software and our capabilities of our machine, because really the market is just changing so much at all times, and what the racers asked for 5 years ago is just honestly, Jeff, it's a lot different than what sometimes they're asking for right now. And that could be, and we're talking ground pounders. We're talking about the Saturday night racers that have gotten a lot more shock privy in the game. And like I said, you've been around it certainly long enough to know where shocks were, where they've been, and where they're going a little bit. And the dynos are no different. We have to keep up with the needs of our customers.
Well, with that being said, let's try to pretend right now that I know nothing about the importance of what we're looking at here, guys. Educate me on how you guys are married together and how you help one another, and why this relationship is so important to the racer himself. So, just say I'm a guy that's just really heavily ignorant on what you're able to do, Chris. And when you guys get together, make me understand how you can make my race car or race truck better.
So one of the big things that we offer like a whole suite of products, including air gauges, scale systems. That's what we're kind of known for. Shock dynos and a bunch of other precision measurement equipment. So the load stick is one example of, kind of how we've progressed in the industry and how we try to stay out front and really be a leader. And I think, Carter, you can talk a little bit about kind of how the load stick fits into a racer's program.
Well, yeah, really the load stick is it's an extension of what we've been doing for years here at Intercomp. And what I mean by that is just, once again, in the last, say 5 years, how the racer is going to baseline their car and what they're going to use for measurements and weights, it's changing. It's forever changing. Where we're not only scaling a car, we're still scaling cars, but we're not only scaling, and we want to actually figure out the load that is applied to the spring on the corner of the car, and that's what makes our line of load sticks really advantageous. Is you can have one, or you can have up to four, and you can put them on all four corners of the car, and you can get that information that you're looking for. This is a new baseline that chassis builders and racers alike they're starting to look for within their programs. It used to just be you had scale numbers. You went off those scale numbers. Well, now we're trying to integrate something within those scale numbers, because we can make those scale numbers look a lot different, and there can be completely different loads on each four corners of the car and still have the same scale numbers. So we need to integrate them together, and that's basically what we're trying to do with all of our products. I always tell people, like when we're at a trade show and whatnot, or I'm on the phone with them, that we're a baseline company. You're getting a baseline with our products. That is what, and you're getting an accurate baseline, and that's basically our job is to have different forms of weighing and measurement. And when we talk about, and a lot of people ask, once again, if I'm completely ignorant on shock dynos, what is a shock dyno? Well, a shock dyno it's a motorized scale that plots out how much force something is putting at a given speed. So it's still a scale, just used in a little bit different way with a load stick.
Does it present a problem, with so many of the elite series, basically either doing coil bind or, bump stops? How much does that change your philosophy when you're trying to, because I understand, and a lot of people probably are a little bit like me, it's taken me a little while to understand how important the loads are on each tire and how you can help. And you pointed it out. I mean, sometimes it's a simplistic deal is make an adjustment to the sway bar that helps to transfer that load, from one tire to another, or help assist the load on that tire because, it's just a little bit light. So we're crushing it up with the opposite, front tire, like I say, with the right side. But when you're doing this and you're working it through y'all's programs, how do you, what would be the approach there? Do we go with something you learn on the shock dyno with the valving, or exactly what's going to be the best way to get that transfer? Because I'm working from the idea of the NASCAR 3 Series. We don't have no practice. What we do at the shop, what we bring to the racetrack has got to be close enough that we can tune it with air pressure and minor adjustments. We don't have the ability to run back and say, well, let's get 2 front shocks and put on it and try this, or let's try the right rear and see if we can slow that transfer, from coming over on the right rear so quickly and getting that spoiler out of there, for example. So how do you really kind of like come up with a way to educate or even work with engineers to facilitate that, most effectively?
Basically the way we try to work with it from the ground up in this situation, because everything moves so fast. Like you've talked about, the setups, they change a lot. They've changed a lot over time, and they change yearly. It takes time for stuff to progress within them, but eventually you're doing sometimes the exact opposite of what maybe you did 15 years ago, I would assume, on some of your setups. And really, where we start with the racer and with the teams and the engineers is we start with what has worked, and we take what has worked. We try to get as much data off that as possible. If I know I've got a combination, and like you said with your program, you got a combination that works good. We're always trying to improve, but we know it works. It's it's a pretty solid setup you can roll into a track with. I'm going to get as much data on that as I can. I'm going to get my load numbers. I'm going to get my scale numbers. I'm going to get my shock, my shock valvings or my shock numbers, my forces, and the combination of it all. And I'm going to chart that, and I'm going to have all that information. And then from there, I'm going to work. And when we talk about, really, when we're talking shock dynos, load numbers, scale numbers, a lot of what we're talking about now is timing. It's where you were saying, you know, we move into a time where we're on bump stops where maybe, and honestly, as a shock builder myself, what I fight a lot with, or what changes the game for me, is rules. You know, maybe we were on a bump stop. I have multiple series that I work with where we were on a bump stop and they want it, and they take the bump stop away, you know, because they see all the technology and everybody, what everybody's doing there, and then that just changes the game. When they make a tire change, any of that stuff, it really changes up what I have to do as a shock and a suspension assistant. But if I need that baseline data to begin with, and then a lot of it's that timing where you say, okay, if I'm going to be on a bump stop, well, then obviously, as you know, we're going to soften up springs so we can get that timing so that we can the car will naturally take a set. And whether it's in, you know, I'm very heavily focused in our business and in my side of Intercomp with the circle track aspect of racing, and it doesn't matter if it's pavement or dirt. We're you know, those cars are taking a set, and we're trying to control a set. We're trying to control how long it's there, and all three of those, the combination of those three are what we work from. But from, you know, off the get go, we try to. It's about baseline it to begin with.
Okay. Before we go any further, I want to make sure that we're up to 186 participants right now. And Jim Winnie sent in the question a moment ago, and he wanted to understand better the load numbers. How do they differentiate from scale numbers? You might want to go ahead and address that. And I've got a follow-up question about what you were discussing a moment ago. So fire away.
Right. Okay. So your load numbers, when you look at a load number and a scale number, the scale number is going to be what is physically out at the tire with the weight, with the mass of the car on it. Okay. If you think about it, if I, when we use our load sticks, so when I think about this, when I'm taking this load stick, I'm going to put that on there, center on the car. So ideally what we do is once we get our car scaled, and what we would traditionally call our ride heights, a lot of them we're going to refer to as our center to centers on a coilover car, or even on a non-coilover, wherever the shock's mounted. We're going to get that. We're going to mount this in there, and you actually are going to take the car and that corner of it. You want that tire to come up off the ground. You're going to have the tire come up off the ground, and you are going to just measure simply how much force that spring is pushing down and trying to
Hey guys, I hate to interrupt you here right quick, but whatever you got going on, we're not hearing you.
Oh,
okay.
Can you hear?
Yeah, I hear you
Can you hear
good
me
right
now?
there. So when you're leaning forward or something, there's something going on there with your,
Okay. Maybe
your
I'll
microphone. I don't
back
want to
here.
lose it because you would look like
Yeah.
you were getting ready to get to the sweet spot to explain what's
Yeah.
going on here.
All right. Can you hear me now, Jeff?
Oh yeah, loud and clear now.
Excellent. And this is basically, we call this a load cell, and it's going to be a tension or compression load cell where it is going to give us a reading. And when we have this center to center or bolt to bolt on there, and then we got our shock bolts through there, it is going to, when we lift that tire up off the ground, or we lift on the frame of the vehicle, it is going to try to pull this apart. That spring is pushing down. That's telling me how much force that spring is pushing down against the tire, in essence, to physically hold the vehicle up at what we would traditionally call our ride heights. But also that'll be different because if you think about it, if I have a stiff spring to get the same loads, I don't have to have near as much preload on it as I would on a softer spring to get the car at the same height. So this tells me exactly, instead of correlating across all four corners of the car, what that is going to be doing specifically, it kind of, it isolates it. And it lets me know, okay, if I want the right front, if I want to stiffen up the right front, I can put more load in it with the same spring, and it'll give me an exact measurement, where on my scale numbers, it might show me, it'll show me a different number. It'll show me a different number. So we try to take both of them, and we work together with them. So I hope that answered the question.
Well, I think we got that kind of follow-up question about that. And that was Michael Cannon just asked a second ago. And Jim said, thanks for answering his question. But he was asking about the type of, cell that is. Is it an S-load cell, or is it another, type of brain right there?
Yep, that's going to be that's an S-beam load cell. So when you kind of look up.
Okay. Again, you're leaning too far forward. I'm losing you.
Right. I don't have very long arms, Jeff. I apologize.
Hey,
so
we can see it. We can see it.
You can see it from there. All right. So this is going to be an S-beam load cell.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, which is going to be the highest quality we can put on here. So
very good. Again, Chris, with you guys working together and trying to come up with these solutions, and I think probably what way I'm looking at this here is this package. Can you give us a little information on this type of load cell and the way your load stick works, and what the cost is as far as I know the professional guys, cost is no object. If they see something, they think it makes it better. But as far as the amateur guy, the local dirt racer, where would that give these guys an advantage and give them? Obviously, a lot of them don't have pull down rigs like some of the bigger operations. Where can they work this in, and how can they make it, best suit their application?
Well, I think that, like Carter was saying, this kind of a integral tool to be able to make your car handle, especially on an oval track. So it's, Carter, you can kind of tell me if this is correct or not. It's kind of becoming one of those things that you really need at the racetrack in order to integrate that information with your scale numbers to actually get a real picture of what your car is doing. So it's just becoming so important to do that in order to be competitive.
Right, and the comparison that you brought up, Jeff, with the pull down rigs, it's kind of a cheap simulation with our, and because instead of just offering just a static reading as far as one length or something similar. You can take this and we can lengthen it out, and we can put on, and we can actually then compress it down, we can pull that suspension down in tension. We can pull it down, 2-3 inches, depending what we're looking at from our track data. That's going to give us those numbers, and we can see how much load I have at ride. I still refer to it as ride height. What I have at ride height, and then what I have in simulation of it being, say, on a dirt car tucked down on the right front, and in cases also we're going to see with the rest of the sticks, we have longer sticks in there also where we can simulate what it's doing when it's up in the air on the left rear, when we're how much load we have in that. And it is a way to simulate for the local racer, in essence, dynamic movement in the car, some sort of dynamic weight movement in the car, and see what it's doing on that right front. How much load does it have? And and in the case of pavement, very heavily on the left front and the right front, essentially. And how much load do I have when it's actually in race condition? When it's, theoretically, when I'm on the track in competition, what are the loads I'm seeing there? Because that is something without a pull down rig I can't see on the scales.
And just to touch on another important thing that Carter kind of started to talk about, as far as the load sticks themselves go, those are 3,000 pound industrial strength load cells on there. So this stuff is built to last, and it's really something that is worth investing in to get the highest quality equipment that you can out there, so that it lasts as long as it possibly can. Just to try to maximize budgets, and racers are always trying to get the most out of every dollar they spend. So this is really just an effective way to maximize that. ratio of dollars spent to performance. One of the other things that Carter did touch on as well is that the bodies of those load sticks, we actually sell 3 different sizes. We have the short, which you can see in Carter's hand there, and then we have a medium, which is a little bit longer, and then we do have a long shock body, or a long, load stick body that will lengthen that out so that even when you're talking about like dirt car racing, it's going to be the left rear that's going to have the most, it's going to be the longest distance between your shock mounting points to be able to put that load stick on there and just get a accurate measurement of what kind of forces you're looking at.
One other thing, Jeff, if we had a second, I just wanted to touch on kind of the evolution of racing setup over the last couple of decades. Really is where these products have been derived from. Really, when you sit and look at it, I'm just kind of trying to talk to the participants. When you look at 15 years ago with your cars, typically if you worked with a chassis builder, you got a setup sheet, and it came with ride heights and it came with scale numbers. And then your tire pressures and your other baseline measurements for the car, where you set lead, where you set trail, and all that. Now chassis builders are sending the setup sheets. They'll have 0 point numbers on their shocks. They will have load numbers for all 4 corners of the vehicle, and that is really what's important is to remain on that baseline with your chassis builder and with your engineers and whoever you're working with. That's really where it's gone here in the last few years is we kind of know in this industry with when it's really important, what's really important is when the sheets that the racers are getting from their chassis builders and whatnot, that we have the equipment that you need to test those.
Okay, guys, real quick, we got a couple of minutes left here, and I had one question. It was asking about the readout from the load stick. Where do you get that, and how does that show up, I guess, on your scale brain or anything like that, so they can understand, like, is it going to a computer, or does it still use the same basic brain?
So that's actually a really good question. We have our wireless indicator here that will be talking to that load stick. The nice thing about the wireless indicators is recently we did add a Bluetooth feature that allows these indicators to be able to talk to your cell phone and our mobile app on there. So you're able to kind of save your data on your phone, be able to share it with folks that are on your team, and then also your chassis builder, kind of like what you were talking about, Carter, being able to get as much information from those that are kind of helping you out when you're at the racetrack as you can, just to try to maximize performance. So really what our goal is to make it easy for the racer to be able to get the best information they can, and then be able to store that information as well, to be able to go back to particular setups and ride height configurations, to be able to make sure that the next time you go to a track, you start right at the same point that you were, close to it, and then you build your performance from there.
Well, guys, real quick, I say we got about another minute here, but Otis Bailey was asking that question. He said, let you know, thank you very much for that. I think we got a lot of participants right now that are probably about as intrigued as I am about how this works and how, and don't ever use that word cheap around me, because to me, it's what I call smart racing. When you do something like what you're doing and stuff you came up with, it's not cheap. You guys have put a lot of man hours as well as brain power into it to try to come up with something that the everyday guy can afford. Because if we know and understand one thing about racing, it ain't cheap. I don't care what level it is, from hobby stock all the way up to the big boys in NASCAR. If you want to go fast, or Banjo Matthews used to tell me, this is where money buys speed. And right now here today at Intercomp and Elite Shocks, you guys have got a great program going on. One real quick question. All I got to do is either go back into EPARTRADE, they can find you on the platforms available there, or I guess they can, call you and go directly to the source right there if they need more information, right?
Yeah, all our contact information is up there. The nice thing about these load sticks is that they're very affordable. Like I said, we have them in the single piece, one piece with an indicator, and then we have them in a 2-piece system as well as a 4-piece system. And we also do sell them without the indicators to be able to kind of build up to that. So in all, you're looking at a ballpark of investment, just for a 4-piece system per se, to be able to do all 4 corners. You're looking at somewhere on the ballpark of about $2,000 to $2,500 to be able to get that accurate measurement. So being able to integrate that information, Jeff, like you were saying, information is king when it comes to racing. Just being able to roll out that trailer fast is going to help you out wherever you happen to go.
Well, guys, like I say, thank you for joining us here. And it's great to get an opportunity to kind of pick your brains a little bit. Great session right there. And good luck with the 2021 race year.
Thanks a lot, Jeff. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Thank you, Chris. Thank you, Carter, Intercomp, brilliant company. And thank you, Aaron. I know you're watching us right now. And so we're big fan of Intercomp. The guy's a perfect example of taking advantage of the technologies available in today's world. I remember the days where Intercomp was making scales and you would put the car on, that was pretty much it. And now it's just like so much more sophisticated with the apps on your phone. I mean, it's just like when we were talking in the introduction earlier this morning, we're saying like with our platform, we're bringing the industry into the 21st century, taking advantage of all the technologies available in today's world, and you're the perfect example. So thank you everyone for watching us. Interested in Intercomp, go on EPARTRADE.com, click through the search supplier, through the search product. Their product is right there. Within one click, I want more information. With a click within the company profile, you can ask questions. Terrific company, terrific people. Thank you, guys.
Registering on EPARTRADE is easy. Fill out your name, email, phone number, and create a secure password. Next, select your business type. Choose supplier if you're looking to display products or services and connect with buyers. Choose racing business if you're looking to find new parts and connect with suppliers. Choose race team if you own or are a member of a professional racing team. Begin typing your company name. We most likely already have your company in our database, which you can select from the drop-down. Then, enter your job title. Choose Claim Company if you'll be editing your company profile. Other members of your company can choose Join Company if they'd like to use EPARTRADE as well. You can view and agree to our terms of use here. If you'd like to receive our weekly newsletter, choose Accept. Click Register Now, and your registration will be submitted for approval. You'll need to confirm your email once it goes through. To keep our platform industry only, you'll be approved shortly after. If we require additional proof of business, we'll reach out. Welcome to EPARTRADE.